Welcome to The Author's Journey with #1 international best-selling author and in-demand publisher, Rebecca Hall Gruyter. Today, we'll showcase the works of an amazing best-selling author, find out the story behind their book, and explore ways to bring your message powerfully forward. Now, here's your host, Rebecca Hall Gruyter.
Welcome, everyone. I hope you're having an amazing day. I'm honored to be connecting in with you on The Author's Journey, where we talk to amazing experts and influencers in the publishing space. We specialize in bringing best-selling authors to the conversation so you can hear from them what worked really powerfully for them and what they discovered and learned so that you can lean in and bring your message forward, because I have learned that it is not a solo journey. We need each other. So I hope that you are ready to receive. Looking forward to learning from our amazing guest expert today. I know you're going to enjoy him. His energy, his personality, and his insight will lift you up, encourage you, and give you some really great tips to support you on your journey. So welcome. Thrilled to have you all joining us. I always like to start the show by taking a moment to connect in. So let's take a breath together. In through the nose, out through the mouth, kind of like through a straw. Keep breathing in deeply, and as you're doing so, I encourage you to feel your lungs expand and stretch. Really take in that beautiful oxygen as you slow down and become present. We're here for you. This is an opportunity for you to be poured into, to receive, to have insight and tips and information to help you and empower you on your journey. But you have to be present to receive. So I encourage you, as you're breathing, slowing down a little bit, becoming present. Make sure that you grab a piece of paper and a pen, a way that you can take notes and capture information, not only that we're going to be sharing with you, but also that you're going to receive as you slow down and listen. Sometimes we're moving so fast, we can't hear those tips and insights that are coming to us because we're moving, we're doing. So this is a moment for you to receive, a time for you to be poured into and to be encouraged and filled up on your journey. So welcome. We are just thrilled to have you joining us. I know you're in for a real treat. So to get started, let me introduce our amazing guest, Dan Ginsberg. He's the founder of Human Social Movement. He's an attorney in California, consultant for lawyers, a speaker, a #1 international best-selling author, a professional calisthenics athlete, and founder of Double Reality Gallery. He is passionate about you stepping into a fully lived, balanced life that flows, that empowers you to step into your dreams and really create the reality you want to live in. Lean in. And please welcome the powerful and dynamic Dan Ginsberg to the show. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. Rebecca, thank you so much. Wow, that was a very powerful introduction. I'm very happy to be here.
Welcome, welcome. I'm glad to have you joining us. I'm excited for the conversation. And I wanted to start with why. I mean, you have so many different things that you have brought forward and created, and I see this consistent desire to, as you bring something forward and create it, that you reach out and help others. Why is this type of work so important to you?
I definitely want to share those things that have worked out for me, because I'm a true believer that we're not just byproducts of our environment, that we do have a chance and a choice to make the environment be a byproduct of us. And so that's why everything that I do, I always ask myself, how can I bring somebody on board? And this is in my law practice, this is with my gallery, this is with my book, our meditations that we do, and everything else. And, Rebecca, it's so rewarding to see your friends also be inspired. and see your friends work on projects that maybe they would have not pursued, but for you taking the first step and showing, listen, I did it and you can do it too.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And something I noticed in your journey and bringing your book, because that's how we got connected, was we got to support you with your book that you have brought forward and launched. And something I saw consistently in you is the relationships that you built, the friendships, the high level of care and trust on the journey, and the different way you had those relationships and the friendships be part of the journey and part of the book and part of its release and launch. Can you share a little bit about that?
Oh, absolutely. A huge part. Absolutely huge part. Because, first of all, if not for my friends and family and everybody who I'm connected with on social media, I probably would have never even finished the book, because writing a book is a very lengthy, challenging process. And most of the challenges come from your doubts. You're looking at this piece of work, and it might make sense to you, but you're thinking, well, how will the world perceive it? What if they don't like it? What if they're going to find all this completely irrelevant? So there is so much internal battles happening in every author's mind, I believe, definitely did in mine. And what pushed me through those hardships and through those difficulties was the desire to share this with others. And it was, so that's why it was just truly encouraging to every single person that is in my friend circle and that I'm connected with in social media. They encouraged me to finish this, because I was so motivated to share it with them. So their presence alone was a huge encouragement, and therefore I just simply wouldn't have done it without all of you guys, and that is, it's a true blessing, and and also, so that's what got me to write the book. But then once it was published, then obviously, so my goal was to become a bestseller, and we landed it as a number one international bestseller, and we definitely would have not done that without all the people who purchased the book. So it was just beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful to see people show their interest, support, come on board. And, what surprised me is that some people who bought my book, I haven't talked to them in maybe 8, 9, 10, 12 years. But nonetheless, they still followed my life through social media. And it was just such a magical moment when you see that you didn't lose touch with someone from high school, for example, and they're still here for you.
That's beautiful. I love that. And I'm curious as we think about this, because there may be some listeners today that they've been working on the manuscript, the book, for a while, and those doubts are creeping in. And they're starting to question, why am I doing this? What is the purpose? Will it matter? Will it make a difference? What are some of the ways that you were able to tap into that support to encourage you? Because I know it took a while to bring the book forward and create it. So what are some of the ways that you reached out or they were able to encourage you? I'm just thinking for our listeners today that can encourage them, or what you would say to them right now.
Absolutely. It's a very powerful question. So initially when I decided to write this book, I did a lot of research. This book is a research paper, honestly. It's a ginormous research paper. I cite over 79 sources in it. And when I finally compiled all the sources, I was like, all right, I'm going to finish this book in 2 weeks because I have all the material. Why would it take any longer? And it took 4 years.
Yeah.
And the reason why it took 4 years and not 2 weeks is because of this internal battle that I had to that I had to go through. And the number one, I can't tell you how many times I deviated from this question. Why am I doing this? What's the purpose behind this book? I had it clearly defined. The purpose behind this was to share the magical impact of living balance, right? And how we can experience more of life if we master our mind, body, and spirits, which is the subtitle of the book, Becoming Limitless Through Spirit, Mind, Body Mastery. And so in the creative process, and this is to all the writers, yes, it's totally normal to lose sight of your why statement. But when you do, just come back to it. And if you haven't formulated that statement yet, that is the number one thing to do right now before you even put another word on another page. Really, really ask yourself why. Why am I doing this? Why do I want to share this with the world? And just write it down on a piece of paper, put it on the wall somewhere where it's clearly visible. And every single time you find yourself in this, in any doubtful thought, just read that statement, and it's going to bring it back for you. And
Beautiful.
I revisited my why statements probably over 18 to 20 times throughout the course of writing this, because we get lost. We get lost in our own thoughts. We get lost in doubts. We get lost in what others have to say about our book. I mean, so not to completely go off tangent, but this is when I finished the first draft back in 2018, or 2019, I gave it to 15 of my friends to read it. And I mean, they were brutally honest. Because I told them, listen, I tell me all the things that you don't like about this, because then I can go ahead and work on it, right? And I mean, nobody likes it. So I was like, oh my God, my life is over. Nobody's gonna read this book. See that I was right about this. Like, look at all these critiques that they wrote. And it was a huge blow to my ego, because before I was like, I did all this research, and this is such important information that absolutely every single person has to know. And here I am looking at the reaction from my friends, and they're like, yeah, Dan, you're going to have to rewrite this. So, and guys, that's totally normal. But because of their reviews, because of their opinions, I was able to able to produce a better manuscript. So
beautiful.
Yeah, it's definitely a journey.
That's great. And then when you got all of that back and had to take it in, because I suspect that took some time, that's a lot of feedback all at once about what to change. Not necessarily even, what they love, but what to change. Wasn't that why that helped bring you forward, or was there something else that helped you bring it forward too? Because I could see thinking maybe not wanting to at that point. What helped you there? Take it and move it forward.
It was tough because I realized how much I had to change, and in that moment, I felt very discouraged, actually. And because, I wouldn't say discouraged. I was kind of afraid of how much work I really have to put into this book in order for it to be something that people would find relatable, easy to read, and enjoyable and insightful. And so, it definitely was a challenge. But nonetheless, what pushed me forward was the desire to figure it out. Because you see, a very large portion of the book has to do with quantum physics. And many of us heard about the law of attraction. Many of us might have seen the movie or read the book, The Secret. And I, for a long time, wasn't very supportive of law of attraction and all manifestations, because a lot of it that I read was centered around the power of belief. If you believe something, it will happen. And if it didn't happen, well, then you just didn't believe it hard enough. And I had a personal problem with that because I was like, okay, well, I mean, I can believe that I can fly all I want, but that doesn't mean I can fly. So then what happens to the power of belief? And therefore, I set out on this just personal journey to figure this out, figure out how does law of attraction work? How can we manifest that what we want into our physical reality? And that curiosity was very personal. I truly wanted to, get this down. And that's what pushed me to work on a manuscript and really finish it. And,
Beautiful.
One of the things I wanted to manifest was becoming a bestseller. One of the things I wanted to manifest was sharing this book with as many people as possible and ultimately having a publication, being a published author. So, that's definitely what I wrote about helped me get to the finished product.
Yes, it feels like it was very much the creation of it was part of the journey for you in persevering through
It was. It was such an interesting interconnection. It was a very interesting. It was a very interesting interconnection.
Oh, love it. Love it. Well, we are getting ready to go to our first commercial break. And as we do that, listeners, I want to encourage you to take a moment and take in some of what Dan shared, in particular, some of the things that really stood out for me. Many, many things, but a couple of points or nuggets I'd love for you to take this time, these 2 minutes to reflect on are your why. Have you created your why statement? Why are you wanting to bring the book forward, and what's going to be your tool in the toolbox that you pull out to support you if doubts creep up, if you start to wonder why I'm doing this. So is there a support system you've put into place to encourage you, to remind you of your why? So I want to encourage you to reflect on those two things as we enjoy our first commercial break, and we'll look forward to continuing our conversation in just 2 minutes.
Find out what's happening on the Voice America Talk Radio Network by keeping up with us on Twitter. You can find us at Voice America TRN.
Explore the poetry of Sam Yao. His book of poems, Soul's Journey, is a #1 international bestseller. Sam is a contemporary poet with a unique and highly relatable poetic style to convey the essence of spiritual truths for our time. Readers will find beauty, inspiration, and healing in his words. Get his book, Soul's Journey, today on Amazon.com or visit SamYaoPoetry.com. That's Sam, Y-A-U, Poetry.com. Rebecca Hall Greider's Speaker Talent Search is looking for speakers wanting to get on more stages. With just one audition, you could open the doors to hundreds of speaking opportunities, reach more people, and expand your impact. Finalists get to audition live in front of leaders looking to fill all kinds of speaking opportunities. Apply now at SpeakerTalentSearch.com. That's SpeakerTalentSearch.com. We look forward to hearing your message.
Become our friend on Facebook. Post your thoughts about our shows and network on our timeline. Visit Facebook.com/Voice America.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed those 2 minutes and you got an opportunity to explore your why. And perhaps in your writing and your creating, you haven't stopped and reflected on that for a while. Or I even find when I work with authors, as we're reviewing their manuscripts and we're looking at the content, I always ask them, how does this tie into your why and what you're hoping the reader walks away with? Because sometimes we just start writing and more writing and more writing, and we forget to tie it into the purpose or why we're doing it, but also what we're hoping the reader's experience will be what they walk away with. So remembering to tie that into a why for them. as well as A Why for You, I think is really powerful and positive. And I love how Dan was sharing that it was really that support of the community, the honest feedback, the encourage him on the journey really helped him keep taking the steps, his why, and remembering some of the things he wanted to achieve and wanting to become a best-selling author, wanting to discover where does the law of attraction fit in all of this for me? What have I discovered? And I really want to make a difference and bring this book forward and become a best-selling author. Like all of those things helped bring him forward. And I know, Dan, you shared the title of your book, but I'd love to, in this segment, have you just share the full title again in case anybody missed it, so that they have that information.
Yes, absolutely. And Brooke, just one very important thing that I forgot to mention when we talked about the why statement. Mm-hmm. It's very important to attach this purpose to something that is greater than yourself. Because if we say, if your why statement is because I want to become a bestseller, you're setting up yourself for failure. Because first of all, then you're being attached to that particular outcome, and attachment will always create resistance when you try to manifest that dream or desire. So, for me, it was to share it with as many people as possible so that it would have a positive impact on my environment. And so I want to live in a world where every person I talk to, they have the ability to read this and be on the same page with me. So that's just one little insert into your why statement.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure. And so the title of the book, The Other Side, Becoming Limitless Through Spirit, Mind, Body Mastery.
Beautiful. And why this title? And I would love for you to describe the cover as well, because I know there's a lot of thought and energy that went into that as well.
Yes. So the title is, for a very long time, I thought that in order to change my life, I had to change things in my life. I had to get a better job, get a better friend circle, move to a different city, live in a better apartment, maybe date somebody, a different person, drive a different car, and have a bigger resume. And then once I do all those things, then my life is going to be different. And then I did all those things and nothing changed because the way I felt inside remained the same, although everything around me was better. And I was so confused. I was like, but wait, why? I've done all this work. I've changed all these things that are supposed to make me feel different, but they didn't. And that's when I got myself a life coach, and my life coach said, Dan, if you want to change your life, you just have to change yourself. And in that moment, it sounded perfect. It sounded spectacular. All of a sudden, I didn't have to change all those external things in my life. I just had to change myself. But then I thought, well, but how? What am I supposed to change about myself in order to change my life? And the answer to that question hasn't come to me for years. For years, I was searching for an answer. And finally, I realized that in order to change myself, I have to change my energy. And then I thought to myself, okay, how can I explain this to people? And, we always think that it has to do with some, crazy metamorphosis. But honestly, it really is the matter of changing our perspective and seeing the other side of things. And that's the recurring theme of my book, is that you will see throughout the book that I make references to just seeing the other side of things that are happening, circumstances, people, and events that are happening and that have happened in your life. And that in itself is absolutely going to change the way you look at yourself, the world, the people in it, and that is what's going to change your energy, which then will change you and your life.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. And what that title, The Other Side, what that means and how we can live that in our life. And I'd love for you to share a little bit of your cover design, because I was thinking for our authors that are listeners, if they're attached to their why, or what they're trying to create, they're connected, they know why they're bringing the book forward. At some point, there needs to be a container for the book, the title,
that's very
and
true.
the cover.
Well,
can you describe yours and any suggestions or tips you can give our listeners around that?
Yes, my cover was actually, I am very into very trippy visual artwork, and I realized that my book cover has to be a representation of that, especially since I have the augmented and virtual reality gallery here in LA that is filled with very trippy, stimulating, colorful artwork. So I figured that my book cannot be an exception.
Beautiful.
And that's why I chose that cover.
I love that. But I like how you're being consistent in the message you're sharing with the world. You're making sure that visually it's matching who you are, what you're wanting to bring to the world. And then how did you go about capturing that? Did you work with a graphics team? Did you create it? How did that come to be?
Yes. Well, Rebecca, thank you for pointing that out, because I don't know if you're doing this consciously or subconsciously, but what you just said is extremely important, because how you do something is how you do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very important for the authors to realize, is that your book really is a representation of you, and that's why. And it starts with a cover. And now I had my friend who is a designer put it together. I basically gave her a rough idea of what I want, but she just, somehow knew exactly what I needed, and I think it turned out pretty well.
Mm-hmm. I think it's beautiful. It has depth, it has texture, it's intriguing. I love your cover and how it came together. So thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. And I know that's something that, yeah, absolutely, everyone has a little bit different journey on. So as we reflect back, because I know this is your first book that you have brought forward, and I wondered if there were surprises. So I know you shared one surprise already that you thought you'd have once you had all that data together. 2 weeks it would be done, and that journey took longer. And then the surprise of the feedback that you got. Were there any other surprises in the journey that you wish you would have known, or that you discovered and would love to share with our listeners so they can add that to their knowledge and experience of what it's like to bring a book forward?
Yes, absolutely. The biggest surprise came from exploration of your truth, of yourself, because through writing, there's something magical about writing. When you just think, those thoughts come and go. But when you write, you have a chance to solidify your train of thought on a piece of paper or on a computer. And what surprised me is how deep I was able to go into myself and into my own ideas and knowledge, that's because when you are in the process of writing, it takes you to a place that you could not have possibly predicted with every single page. And this book turned out to be very different from what I initially planned for it to be, because it's exactly because of this. With every single page, I was able to dive deeper and deeper and continue asking how and why. And, that desire to seek the ultimate answer was a true exploration of self. And I'm honestly very excited for every single author to undergo that, because it's a magical process.
Thank you for sharing it. I love that, and that you allowed that interaction, that growth. So it's not just swirling around in you, but you're getting it out of your writing. You're interacting with it. You're going deeper. I know there's a connection when we write things that actually is a direct line to the heart. So there's a deeper connection that happens rather than just thinking, but creating. So I love how that was one of your favorite parts of the experience and the process. And what a beautiful thing to share with our authors and potential authors out there to enjoy the process, allow that growth and that experience and that going deeper. I love it. Now, you decided.
And Rebecca, just one very quick thing. What you just said is super important. It's to allow that flow. It's to allow that entering that state of flow. Once you enter a state of flow, you are in the multiverse, because it can take you places where you did not even expect. And my book is nonfiction, but for those who are writing fiction, then what might surprise you guys is the development of your characters. Your characters might end up doing things you never, ever predicted they would in your book that when you first began to write it. And it's like you're creating, it's such an amazing creative process, because you are creating a new reality through the words that you put on the page. Yeah. How much more magical can it get, you know?
Oh, I love it. I love it. Thank you for sharing. And I hope our listeners are leaning in and capturing and feeling that excitement and that passion for the journey and experiencing it. And I know one of the things that you mentioned earlier that was important to you is you wanted to have the book make a difference for others, to bring it forward. And one of the ways you decided to do that is you decided to do a best-selling campaign and have that support in how it was released. Do you mind sharing why you decided to do that? And what was it like the day of your launch to go from releasing the book to a bestseller, then #1 bestseller, then international, and then #1 international bestseller? And what was that all like? Why did you decide, and what was it like?
Absolutely, yes. You know, right. So publishing a book, I didn't really realize how many moving components are in this process. I mean, it's like building a building, and you have to have the structure and the infrastructure, and so the whole process. I could have never. I mean, maybe I could have, but it would have took me most likely 5 to 6 times longer to figure all this out. So having you, Rebecca, by my side was just. I mean, it saved me so much time. It saved me probably half a year. Like this book would have been published in January or February of 2022 if I had to do all this by myself. Now that I know how much is in this process, if I were to figure the whole thing out on my own, it literally would have took me an extra half a year. So having you by my side was very, very helpful. And becoming a #1 international bestseller, that was so. It's like, now that I think about it, it's now I'm on the other side. Before, I used to live a life of having a manuscript that I'm working on, and now I'm living a life of having a finished manuscript and being a #1 international bestseller. And when it was happening, I almost couldn't believe it, because I wasn't. I mean, as I said earlier, my goal was just the bestseller, if that, if that, you know. So the fact that we were able to leverage the campaign the way we did was very. It was very encouraging to then get up and talk about it, because when you get up, when you talk about when you guys are going to publish your books, then you don't want to endlessly talk about it. You want to get speaking engagements or do seminars, or just do events where you invite your listeners inside your stories. But notice how different the storyline is when you just talk about your book versus when you say, I became a #1 international bestseller. It's a complete game changer. You're perceived differently. You're all of a sudden, everybody's curious about it, because they know that, wait a minute, if this guy did it, then a lot of people must have thought that this book is worth buying. So I want to know more. And that is very powerful. I was able to leverage that endlessly and continuing to do that with every single speaking engagement. I have a course also. Now with my course, it's derives from this book, and I'm perceived very differently now that I did before.
Thank you for saying that. I loved how you said I'm on the other side. It's so perfect.
Yeah.
It makes such a difference. I love that. Well, we're getting ready to go to our next commercial break. And as we do that, listeners, I want you to think about some of what Dan has shared and really thinking about how you are interacting with the content, the information that you are writing. How are you experiencing it? Are you allowing that growth? Have you thought about how to bring your book forward so that more people can know about it, so you can touch more people's lives? Those are some great things to think about it, and being open to really going deep and enjoying the journey and the experience of what you're creating. We'll look forward to continue our conversation in just 2 minutes.
Find out what's happening on the Voice America Talk Radio Network by keeping up with us on Twitter. You can find us at Voice America TRN.
Explore the poetry of Sam Yao. His book of poems, Soul's Journey, is a #1 international bestseller. Sam is a contemporary poet with a unique and highly relatable poetic style to convey the essence of spiritual truths for our time. Readers will find beauty, inspiration, and healing in his words. Get his book, Soul's Journey, today on Amazon.com or visit SamYaoPoetry.com. That's Sam, Y-A-U, Poetry.com. Rebecca Hall Greider's Speaker Talent Search is looking for speakers wanting to get on more stages. With just one audition, you could open the doors to hundreds of speaking opportunities, reach more people, and expand your impact. Finalists get to audition live in front of leaders looking to fill all kinds of speaking opportunities. Apply now at SpeakerTalentSearch.com. That's SpeakerTalentSearch.com. We look forward to hearing your message.
Become our friend on Facebook. Post your thoughts about our shows and network on our timeline. Visit Facebook.com/Voice America.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed those 2 minutes, that you had an opportunity to really take in some of what Dan is sharing for you. What is serving you? What is supporting you? What is bubbling up within you as you listen to his wisdom and his insights and some of what the journey was like? And just to give you a quick snapshot, his book became a #1 international best-selling book in 4 countries, 26 best-selling categories, and 3 of them #1. Just phenomenal success of his book, and I know it's impacted so many people's lives. And we had reviewers that even reviewed the book and were very touched and moved by it. So it's something that I really encourage you to lean in and get your copy. I know you've probably enjoyed Dan, and I'd love for you to be able to connect in and get his book as well. And I believe it's out in multiple formats. So Dan, can you share the full title of your book, all the formats that are available or are soon to be available, and the best way to connect in and get a copy?
Yes, absolutely. So it is called The Other Side, Becoming Limitless Through Spirit, Mind, Body Mastery. And right now it's available on Kindle and print version. And the best way to get it is to go on my website, which is hsmovement.com, which stands for Human Social Movement. And under the book tab, you'll see all your options that are available for you. To you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And I see it's available in softcover, hardcover, so people can kind of decide their favorite, and Kindle. And then the Audible is coming soon. Is that correct? That they can, depending
exactly
on their favorite.
Right. We have the Audible is coming out toward the end of this month, and that way you guys will be able to listen to it and not just read it.
Beautiful. And who is the narrator? I know that was special too.
Yes, Isaac Newton. He goes by, his stage name is Ira. He's a really good friend of mine. And, Isaac is an incredible human being. He has been doing life coaching for many years before I came to him asking for advice on how to become a life coach. And this was back in 2000. wow, it was like 2014 or something. And he has a book of his own also, and just a phenomenal friend, absolutely amazing person. So I was very blessed for him to offer this to me.
Beautiful. I love that. Again, your relationships and your friendships and how they're all connected together in bringing your book forward to the other side. So I just love that. and what
That's
are some...
very true.
And you have so many different things that you do and you've brought forward. So I wanted to ask a tip before we talk about additional projects and things. You have been able to take things from an idea, a concept someday, into today, into reality, to make it real. Can you give us just a tip, a piece of advice for any of those creators out there that are listening that the ideas are swirling around in them? How do they make it real so others can see and experience what they're called to create?
To give yourself absolutely unrealistic deadlines. I mean, so the only, guys, I didn't always do this. I had many years where I would sit on the idea for months and then I would just forget about it. Or then I would just not even feel motivated to take it to completion, or even start it without, and what pushed me over the edge is just making a list of tasks, taking each idea, breaking it down into tiny little tasks, and putting a deadline of when you have to achieve that task by. That just skyrockets your productivity. And it's okay if you don't meet the deadline, but because then you can extend it. But when you strive to get something done in 2 days rather than 2 weeks, you will be absolutely surprised as to how your brain just starts ticking in a way it never did before.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's encouraging yourself. Oh, good.
And also, one big thing about all the things that I was able to complete was a lot of people look for motivation, but motivation is when you are taking an idea and you are pushing it forward. Now, if you are inspired by that what you're working on, you don't have to push anything forward anymore, because then the idea takes you and drags you along to its completion because you're inspired. So that's why our why statements are so important, is because I was inspired to finish this book. I was inspired to create my gallery. I was inspired to do my group meditation. I was inspired to create my course. And that inspiration is what helped me push through those unrealistic deadlines. And it never really felt like work. People ask me, like, how come every single time I go on vacation, I do all these like crazy activities, and instead of just relaxing in my hotel room? It's because I don't go on vacation to relax. I actually go on vacation to not relax, because my whole day, regardless of all the things that I do, I'm not really working because I'm enjoying all of it. But the reason why I'm enjoying all of it is because I'm inspired by that, by the idea. And guys, if you're looking for inspiration, that it's within you. You don't have to look for it elsewhere. It really is within you. And it is in a simple question of, why do I want to do this?
Oh, back to the why. Always circles back to the why. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. That's really important, in that breaking it down into tasks and pushing yourself, stretching yourself to achieve those deadlines and bring it forward is really powerful. Now, we're getting really close on time, but I want to make sure we touch on a couple things. So one, you've mentioned a couple of things like your gallery and some other things that you brought forward. So can you share quickly some things that people could be looking for, watching for, learn more about, and the best way for them to connect with you and go deeper in relation to your interview today, your book, any of the things that you list, so they can connect and go deeper?
Yes, absolutely. We have a number of ways for us to continue our relationship. We have, for everybody who is in LA, we do group meditations every Saturday in Venice Beach. You can find out about that on my website, hsmovement.com. And also I have the I accidentally built the world's first augmented and virtual reality gallery because I didn't know it was going to be the world's first, but I just had this idea. And that is also in LA. It's the most insane 2 hours that you will ever experience because it's truly imagination expanding. And I would definitely encourage you guys, for everyone who's listening, if you reach out to me and you say, listen, I heard your story on Rebecca's podcast, then the ticket is free for you guys. This is exclusive for all our listeners today. So if you're in LA listening to this, reach out to me and I will arrange a free tour for you and your plus one. So that's definitely there in place. And lastly, the course. So I created a course which is a very condensed, powerful, interactive version of the book that takes out all of the fire material, all of the content that has to do with spiritual and personal development, and I put it into a 4-session course with diagrams, with worksheets, with videos, pictures, illustrations, and I would definitely encourage you guys to tap into that and really see how powerful it really is.
Beautiful. And the best way for them to connect with you, is it social media and your website or website? What's the best way?
I think the best way is through Instagram. I'm on Instagram at Dan Ginsburg _, and my last name is spelled GINZBURG. And there you can message me. You can also check out my link tree where you'll see all the links to the book, to the course, to the meditations, to the gallery, and everything else that I'm working on. And it's the best way to keep up with all the future ventures that I'm going to be diving into.
Beautiful. Well, Dan, thank you for joining us today. I so appreciate it. And what a generous gift to have our listeners be able to tap into a virtual tour. So thank you for making that available to them. And listeners, I want to thank you for joining us today. I hope you got some great tips and insights from Dan as he shared from his heart and from his experience of what it was like to not only bring his book forward, but launch it and have it become a #1 international bestseller, to be able to continue to bring forward and create all that he is, that you've got some great tips and insights to start to put into how you are interacting with your manuscript, with what you are looking to bring forward. I encourage you to take a couple moments at the end of today's show and just listen, receive, breathe in all that serves, write down some of those thoughts that might be swirling in you a little bit. Give yourself 2 to 10 minutes just to capture that. And then how you want to start to incorporate that or figure out how to work that into how you are bringing your book and message forward. Remember, the journey is not a solo one. We are here supporting you, cheering you on your author's journey. And we can't wait to see you bring your message, your book, your manuscript forward. Have an amazing week, everyone. We'll look forward to talking to you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to The Author's Journey. Please join Rebecca Hall Greider for another edition of the Author's Journey podcast every Monday on the Voice America Variety Channel. And until we talk again, use some of the tips and inspiration from today's show to guide you as you lean in to bringing your message forward.